Hello, everyone. I'm Shannon Deskins, your host of the Pike County Report, and I am here with Pike County Judge Executive Ray S. Jones. And there is a lot of things that we want to talk about. It seems like sometimes we don't do this often enough.
Well, we had a very busy court meeting that lasted about 4 hours on May 7th, and I wanted to come on the program and bring folks up to speed on what's taking place in county government. There's a lot of issues that we're not going to be able to address in this edition of the program, and hopefully we'll be able to get to those in the next episode. But there's a lot of important subjects that we need to address tonight. And
Okay, I think.
where do you want to start?
Well, I think the first one, I think the top of your list are some things that you want to discuss and clarify about some things that have come up concerning Mountain Water District.
Well, as you know, we've had a lot of long meetings over the course of the year since we took office on January 7th. We had hoped to get Mountain Water's superintendent and their financial folks in to give an update to the court, because the court, the judge executive, nominates the board members. There's 5 board members, one of whom will have a term that expires at the end of June, I believe. And the court confirms the members. And we have an oversight role, the same way that Congress has an oversight role, or the state legislature has an oversight role over state government or federal government agencies. And if you go back and look at Mountain Water, the fiscal court's really not been very active in terms of overseeing how the district's operated. Now, the day-to-day operations, of course, is governed by the board of directors. But the main reason we wanted to hear from Mountain Water is we wanted an update on their financial condition, what projects were taking place. But what was glaringly obvious from the statements from Mr. Sawyers is that the prior boards, and the current board included, has been very lax in terms of planning for the future capital needs of the district. Now, I want to just read something to you. Mountain Water District was incorporated in 1986, and this is directly from their website. And it basically says it was started in 1986. So keep in mind, it was a merger of the Pond Creek Water District, the Marbone Water District, and the Shelby Valley Water District. And it took place on July 1st, 1986. So some of the infrastructure is over 30 years old, well over 30 years old. Some of that infrastructure may be 40 plus years old. And according to Mountain Water's own webpage, it's comprised of 870 miles of water main, 995,400 feet of service line, 16,590 meter installations, 27 master meters, 42 pressure regulator stations, 135 water storage tanks ranging in capacity from 5,000 gallons to 1 million gallons, 135 booster pumping stations, a 3 million gallon per day water treatment plant at Harless's Creek. The district also buys water from Williamson in the city of Pikeville. And according to their webpage, and there's got to be a typo here, it says the district distributes 80 to 90 million gallons of water per month. And it says 29,200,000,000 gallons annually. So that math doesn't add up. So maybe the district will go back and correct that so that information could be clarified. But there's several major problems. Let's start with the water meters. The water meters that the district uses are similar to the meters that Kentucky Power uses. Back when I was growing up, the meter readers had to get out and walk to every meter. And it takes a lot of manpower to do that. It increases the cost of running a utility substantially if you have to get out of the vehicle, walk to every single meter. These meters are only had a 10-year life expectancy, and when they were put in place, the district didn't put any money aside to replace them. So now the district is having to replace 300 or 400 meters a month, and they're having to rake and scrape the money together to do that. And they're trying to get a $400,000 grant from rural development and take out a $3+ million loan, long-term loan. Well, the problem is that would be like going and buying a new car and financing it for 20 years. How many people finance a car for 20 years? The problem is the car is going to be worn out before it's paid off. The same thing's true when you have a utility going out and borrowing money and paying it over the course of many years. The meters that they're going to have to replace with this loan will long be worn out before that debt's paid off. And as Roy Sawyer said, it was simply a failure to plan by prior boards. And one of the things that I asked him is how much money has there been a capital plan done by the board, by Mountain Water? And let's talk about what a capital plan is. A capital plan, Shannon, is a plan, and we're working on one for the county because one's never been done for the fiscal court. It says, what are our needs? What are our immediate needs? What do we need to buy? What needs to be repaired? What needs to be replaced? And what's that going to cost? And you have to do that for several years so you have an idea of what's coming down the road. How much money are we going to have? Right. Sort of like if you buy a house or you build a house, at some point you got to put a new roof on it. So you have to figure out that you need to put some money aside if you have to put a new roof on a house. That's just common sense. The problem is prior fiscal courts didn't do that, and neither did prior boards at Mountain Water. So what we're asking them to do is to put a capital plan together, because if you look at the massive amount of infrastructure, we're not to the point where Southern Water in Floyd County or Martin County Water District. As you know, I represented Martin County for many years in the state senate, and not once did we ever have anyone from the water district or local government ever try to get money to help that water district. Never happened in 18 years that I served in the General Assembly. So what we want to make sure as a fiscal court, exercising our oversight role, is that Mountain Water doesn't go the same way that Martin County Water District and Southern Water have.
And that scares me, because I was just sitting here thinking, you're talking about how old the infrastructure is,
That's right.
over 40 years at one point. And then I think you're going to talk about water loss at some point here in a few minutes, and that is ringing in my ears as exactly what Martin County says their issues are.
Well, the Mountain Water District Board had a special meeting today on May 16th, and they did it because we questioned them. And even the chairman of Mountain Water said that in a 24-month period, they lost 1,700 customers. And we have the financial statement here, and if you look at the cash balance of their accounts, cash in the bank, from as of March 31st, 2019 to March 31st, 2018, they're down about $130,000 cash in the bank, and they had an operating loss of $484,377 in 2018. Well, that loss was up to $666,312.90 as of March 31st, 2019. Their financial situation, and I do question the sustainability. You have fewer customers, you have aging infrastructure, no capital plan, and no money set aside to address these needs. For instance, right now, and I'll show this chart to the folks that are out there. The Public Service Commission, that of course regulates utilities like Mountain Water, basically says that a 15% line loss is the maximum that is acceptable. And if you look at this, Pike County, as of May of 2018, Mountain Water District had a 32% line loss. It was among some of the worst identified in the Herald Leader article. Big Sandy Water District was 30%, Canonsburg 37%, Kaywood Water District was only 16%, Rattlesnake Ridge was 63%, Martin County was 70%. And one of the reasons that Martin County's water loss was so high is because they put no money aside to replace these water lines that were aging. And we have the same problem here with the Mountain Water District. So if the Mountain Water District is selling 80 to 90 million gallons of water a month, that means 32% of that, more than 30 million gallons, is being lost. Now, I don't know about many other businesses. I've practiced law for a long time. But if a law firm lost 32% of every case of the cases that it took, you're not going to be in business very long.
No.
If you're in any business, let's take Kellogg's, one of the largest employers in the county. If Kellogg's lost 32% of its production before it was ever boxed up and sent out of the factory, that plant wouldn't have lasted this long. And it's not acceptable that we have a utility that has the needs that Mountain Water has with a 32% line loss and no plan to address it. So I do question sustainability. I do question the leadership, and I've been unequivocal that we will change the leadership. We need people on the board that are business people, that are educated, that have an accounting background, that have a business background. Because if the numbers don't work, at some point it's going to be unsustainable, and we're on that path now. So things are going to change. Now I do want to clarify one thing. The board of Mountain Water, in its press release, and the interesting thing after the meeting, I asked at one of the breaks, I asked the attorney for Mountain Water District, who drafted. He said, "Well, I did." Well, first of all, it's preposterous that the board would have to pay an attorney to draft a press release. But what they should be doing is developing a capital plan. That energy that they had in this to call a special meeting and clarify their own superintendent's statements would be time and money better spent trying to figure out how to address the ailing or aging infrastructure that Mountain Water has and how to plan for the future of Mountain Water. And the first thing to do is to put a capital plan together.
So that is where we are now. You're waiting on, I guess, their answer and their capital plan to come back to you with some kind of a, hey, this is where we want to be, this is what we want to do?
I'm not sure they're even working on a capital plan. I'm not sure they even have a written plan to address the line loss. It's sort of like throwing darts at a dartboard. Let's just figure out what problem we're going to address next with no planning. And it is my goal that when we put new board members on, that they have a vision to address the long-term needs of the district, not just what benefits them politically. Now, they did make a statement today implying that the current fiscal court would try to bring utility management group back in. And one of the interesting things that took place during that last court meeting is Mike Spears, the district CPA, basically outright refuted a lot of the false assertions that were made about utility management group. And I can tell you this, without any hesitation, utility management group, it's never been discussed to bring them back. But I don't believe that they would come back. It's pretty much, I know this, they wouldn't come back if they were asked to because of how they were treated by the prior fiscal court and by the current board. If utility management group hadn't done what they had done to try to implement things like a long-term capital plan, to try to implement efficiencies. You know, when they took over, you had more than 70 employees at Mountain Water District. Every politician's family members, nieces, nephews, grandsons. And it really became a way for politicians to get people jobs. And, you know, politics has no place in a public utility because a public utility is too important. Water, sewer, those are vital needs. And we're going to take politics out of it. But the interesting thing is with all the problems at Southern Water, the Public Service Commission asked UMG to step in and take it over and try to fix the mess.
Right.
And they also asked them to take over the Martin County situation. But the problem is we have some people for political reasons that want to just basically spread false statements. And you know, they said that this court was going to shut down solid waste and contract it out. You know,
and I know that's from previous conversations, that's the last thing you want to do.
Absolutely. And the proof's going to be in the time. Time will tell, as the old saying goes. 3 years from now, when we're sitting here and we're still running solid waste, and hopefully we have a strong independent board at Mountain Water running Mountain Water, those rumors are going to be what they are, just that. They're going to be proven false. But, you know, what can't be refuted are the facts of the glaring problems at the Mountain Water District. And, you know, we had some good news at the last court meeting because we received a deed to the 38-acre site at Wolf Pit from the Department of Transportation, which will give us an opportunity to develop the first county-owned industrial site. We've heard about some of the issues with the Kentucky Enterprise industrial site, and we want to work with the city of Pikeville. We want that site to be successful. We also want to develop our own site to help rebuild the county's tax base. And we've got to work We need Mountain Water to be working with us to try to help us figure out what our infrastructure needs and where we're going to get the money to get water and sewer into that site. That will be the first of 3 potential sites on the US 460 corridor in conjunction with the John Moore Branch site and the Beaver site.
And that's something that you and I talked about just last week, was the planning for when that 460 corridor and when that road started coming through. I believe you were talking about Governor Patton wanted to make sure that whatever was put into these fill sites was compacted to be built on later. Unlike we lost some opportunities on 119, but 460, which is what we're talking about, you're ready for that.
That was the one mistake that was made when US 119 was constructed from Buckley's Creek to the West Virginia line, is those fill sites, the refuse sites, were not compacted for industrial or commercial use. Governor Patton made sure that we put a plan in place to develop those sites on the 460 corridor in a way that we could use them for industrial development.
And that makes sense because we always talk about here, we live in the mountains of eastern Kentucky, we don't have flat land. So when we have these huge construction projects that you're going to take material and has to go someplace, when you fill these valleys and you have a plan to make them usable, I mean, that's an opportunity that we would not have had otherwise.
Well, it saves us money. Rather than trying to develop a site from scratch, you're doing 2 things. You're building a much-needed federal highway that will open up the eastern portion of Pike County, and at the same time developing industrial or commercial sites that we definitely need to try to diversify our economy and rebuild our economy in what you would basically say is the post-coal era of Pike County.
Right. So just to kind of see where we are with that, you've received the deed now, so you're looking at how to take that next step to develop these.
We have to get the infrastructure in. It's roads already paved. The transportation cabinet did keep a portion of the property to potentially build a new maintenance garage, which is great because any business would love to have a state road maintenance facility there, because the roads are going to be kept in A1 condition. So.
Okay, well that's the good news that's coming out of some recent things. And I know something that you've done very recently is you have paid a visit to Fishtrap, where things are happening at the dam site where we've talked about. And I know even when you were in the state senate, that garbage there in the Millard area has been something you've wanted to tackle, but now things are happening. So let's talk about that.
The good part about being in the county judge's office as opposed to the state legislature is I have more control about getting things done. And I will say this, the fiscal court, Ronnie Robertson, Jason Tackett, and Brian Booth, myself, we're committed to cleaning up Pike County, because you're never going to build a future here if we have garbage everywhere, illegal dumps, litter. People coming into the region looking to bring a business here or develop a business, they're going to form a first impression. And if you drive up to Fishtrap, most people have this impression that the first thing you see when you drive across the dam is a massive amount of garbage. Well, Saturday, we had the Pride cleanup. Miss Betty Brown and Miss Marie Childers, who are really staunch supporters of the Pride program.
And when they ask for something, you do it.
We absolutely do it. And Jimmy Dale Sanders, our Pride coordinator. Jimmy Dale, of course, is an old regular Baptist preacher, one of the finest people you'd ever meet. They have worked so hard. We had inmates. We had a lot of inmates out helping. We had a lot of community volunteers, and we picked a lot of garbage up. But this week, we started the joint cleanup that we had earlier this year. We had an announcement between the Army Corps of Engineers and the fiscal court. I signed the agreement, and the fiscal court obtained from the 2019 illegal open dump grant program. We obtained about $270,000 thereabout, and a large portion of that is being used to clean up Fishtrap. $126,000 of that money the county will put up to help with the cleanup. The Corps of Engineers is putting in $13,000. It's a total of about $140,000. So if you go up to Fishtrap, and I would encourage everyone who's listening to the program to go up and look at the difference. There's still work to be done. It's the cleanest I've seen Fishtrap in many, many years. And we're going to continue to do that because we want people, when they drive up to see that lake, how pretty it is, particularly this time of year. We're getting ready to start boating season. We have a new owner of the Marina who's getting ready to spend a lot of money up there to try to develop some things like water slides, things to bring people in. They're not going to be successful, and we're not going to be successful about developing adventure tourism or ecotourism unless we clean up our environment. And that means litter, it means illegal dumps, but it also means cleaning up Fishtrap. I'm very proud of the work that's been done, and we were up there today. I think that they'll probably have some pictures of that today. Most people would say it's probably the cleanest that they've ever seen Fishtrap. And we want people, when they come across the dam, to say, wow, this is a gorgeous place. We don't want the first impression to be negative. And I think that'll go a long way to helping Pike County and eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, and I've talked to the owners of the new marina, or the new owners of the marina. There are a lot of plans there, and we all know that it's one of the largest lakes in the area. Great fishing, great for boating. You've also got the grapevine area. So once you get out on the lake, you realize how much really there is. So making it beautiful from the start is only going to help everybody.
Well, the court, we're having a Commissioner Tackett, Jason Tackett's having an event up there for kids, a fishing event. I think it's on Monday the 20th from 9 to 1, I believe the hours are. And he'll talk about that in the fiscal court meeting that will take place on, we're having a special court meeting to give the first reading to the budget tomorrow, which will be on Friday the 18th, or the 17th, I'm sorry.
Right.
17th. And so we're moving forward. We're going to try to see what we can do at the county level with the trail system. Earlier this week, on Monday, Deputy Judge Reggie Hickman went to the Kentucky Mountain Recreational Authority meeting in Frankfort. Most counties were represented. There were a few that didn't have representatives. And to see exactly what the state's plans are. But we also want to see if we can move forward at the county level, because there's no guarantee. Since I went into the state senate in 2001, the state's been working to try to develop a trail system in eastern Kentucky, and it's just never materialized. So our court, in particular Commissioner Ronnie Robertson, is just chomping at the bit to move forward, and I'm going to work with them to try to see what we can do to move it forward. We have some other events. We've got, I think, 6 cruise-ins that the fiscal court's working with the city of Pikeville on. We have some other opportunities for adventure tourism or ecotourism that we're working on, and hopefully we can move. It's a quality of life issue, Shannon. I mean, there has to be things here for people to do to take advantage of. We live in one of the most beautiful places in the world.
And we talk all the time about tourism. We think in our minds that we have to reach out to people that don't live in the area and tell them, but there's a lot of people that live right here that still don't know what we have to offer. So I think all of this is going to be great to just educate our local people, make their lives greater, and then bring those in.
Well, this is home.
Right.
And our efforts, the one thing I love about being county judge as opposed to state senator is, my efforts are 100% focused on where I'm living and raising my children in Pike County, Kentucky. And it's good to see things happen that will improve the quality of life for my children and every other child in our, not only Pike County, but for the region.
Right.
Because, Pike County is the economic center. It's the medical center of eastern Kentucky. It's the leading county. It's the largest geographical county. And we're going to continue to make Pike County an example for other counties to follow.
You talked about making life better for your residents, and there's a couple things we want to mention with some local fire departments. Pike County has 22 volunteer fire departments, and 2 of those, well, maybe 23 now, because you just cut the ribbon for Belfry's 3rd fire station.
We had a dedication this week for Belfry Station number 3. That was paid for with coal severance tax, and I know Commissioner Brian Booth is ecstatic because he's also a member of the Belfry Fire Department Board, and I want to congratulate all the volunteer firemen, not only at Belfry but in Pike County because of what they do, but Chief Nee Jackson and the men and women of the Belfry Volunteer Fire Department do a fantastic job. And I believe it was over 60% of the calls that they've had. It was 38 calls out of 61 calls that they've had since that station has opened. They have sent a truck from that station, the pumper truck, to the call, and it serves 256 homes. 256 homes and 5 businesses. I think my numbers are correct.
And that's a lot.
And, you know, when you can lower people's fire insurance cost, you can improve public safety and reduce response times. That's a great thing. So we want to congratulate Chief Jackson and the Belfry Volunteer Fire Department.
And I want to go on beyond that, because that's one thing that our entire region, our fire departments reach out and they help they help other regions when they need it. And we've all been watching the 22-month-old Kenneth Howard thing. We didn't know if he was going to be found. He was found alive by one of the search crews. And of that search crew, 2 of those were Belfry Fire Department members.
Chief Jackson texted me yesterday, and I want to congratulate all the people who volunteered. We had Doug Tackett and CJ from our emergency management agency was down there the first night with the drone. They couldn't find him. And as a father of a 4-year-old, it's just a miracle. It's by the grace of God that the child was found unharmed. And it took a lot of people searching for the child and a lot of people praying for the child. I think that did have an impact.
I know it had an impact.
Because to think that a 22-month-old could be out for 3 nights, as cold as it was, with a lot of we've got a massive number of coyotes. I mean, we've had them on around my house, and it's a problem when you have young children. And everyone feared the worst, but we got great news, and I want to thank the men of the Belfry Fire Department for their work and helping make sure that this child was found safe and sound.
And one other fire department that we've talked about recently is I believe it's fire station on Long Fork at Shelby Valley.
Well, that's home. And,
yeah, that's your neck of the woods.
That's home. And I was contacted back when I was state senator. Shelby Valley Volunteer Fire Department wanted to build a 3rd bay on the Long Fork station. And they wanted to spend about $47,500 in coal severance tax. And I wouldn't sign off on it. I was the only legislator that didn't sign off on it. And my response to the last administration is, well, are we looking for any grant money? Are we looking for any other sources of money? Well, when I came in, Sharon Hall, our grant writer, who has done a fantastic job, she helped with the money for the illegal open dump cleanup. She's working diligently to try to find every penny of money that we can in terms of grants, low interest loans, those kind of things. And we were able to secure a $47,500 grant from the United States Department of Agriculture, Office of Rural Development. And we only had to match it with $12,500 of coal severance tax. So we ended up with more money, and instead of taking $47,500 in coal severance tax money, we only had to spend $12,500. It's $35,000 that we're going to be able to spend on something else. And that's one of the things that this court's done, is we're looking to maximize every penny of money. We've made a substantial number of cuts in the budget that we're going to pass out at the special court meeting on Friday. Will be about $1 million less, but than the previous year's budget. Coal severance tax is down about $500,000 below what the prior budget. But here's the thing that we've done, because we've been working on efficiencies, we've been working to save money, is we're not going to have to cut senior citizens funding. We're not going to have to cut employee pay. We're not going to have to cut employee benefits. In fact, there was no cost on the employee health insurance this year, and even though we're getting some better benefits for the employees and their families, we're not having to cut money for our volunteer fire departments. Now, the only way we've been able to do that is to try to improve efficiencies and save money in our purchasing, and try to make sure that we're giving the taxpayers every benefit that we can in terms of being efficient and making sure we're cutting out wasteful spending.
We just got a few seconds left. Is there anything you want to end with?
I want to thank the men and women who work in county government, particularly the road department. We've had a substantial slide on Little Robinson that has really taken the District 2 road crew out of their normal business. We've got issues in the county where weeds haven't been cut, but with the slides, we're still trying to get past the emergency declaration that was done back in February. We've still got a significant number of problems, and we're way behind with the weather. So I would just ask everyone to be patient, but if they do have a question or a comment or a complaint, whether it's about the roads, about solid waste, to give us a call. Before you go on social media and start making complaints, give us a chance. There's a lot of times we don't know about the problems, and putting a complaint on Facebook doesn't mean it's going to get addressed. It may not be seen.
Right.
But if you call our office, we have a system in place to log complaints, to have them addressed, whether it's solid waste, public works, the road department, whatever it may be, to try to address those concerns or those issues. So 432-6247 is the judge's office. 432-6245 is solid waste. So please give us a call if you have a question or anything we can do. And we'll be back on here probably in a week or so to update the residents of the county on the budget process.
And that was what I was going to say. The next time we'll probably break down that budget a little more and give some information.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and thank you for joining us once again for another edition of the Pike County Report. I'm Shannon Deskins.